Hello, and welcome to the first episode of Hessian Horde. I'm Nick, the owner of Hessian Firm. So Hessian Horde is going to be a new series about, various physical objects that I've acquired throughout the years or that I'm acquiring as the series goes on. And it's going to be mainly related towards metal, the adjacent culture, and, anything that is of interest to the label in general. So today I'll be talking to you about a book called Thy Third Wave of Black Metal by metalguitarscales.com. This is a newly cemented company that is making a series of books relating to various scales that can be used for metal. It also comes with this CD, which is a single in the brutal slam death metal style, because each book deals with a separate style. I obviously got, Thy Third Wave of Black Metal because, I'm much more into black metal than I am into brutal death metal. So, the point of this book, right, is for the intermediate to advanced guitarist who is running out of ideas, kind of stuck within the same kind of, fingering, chords, melodies. And the idea of this is to kind of get away from that box with an entirely new system of scales. Now, this is not a book in any shape or form that's meant to teach you guitar or meant to show you how to play certain kinds of riffs. You should be fairly acquainted with rhythm to really get the essence of this book. And of course, it's really geared towards guitar players. You can transpose it to other instruments, but, there's no actual musical notation. It's all tablature, and it's really made for 6 or 7 string guitars. So this is all based on I believe his name was William Zitler system that contained 1,408 scales, I believe. Don't quote me on that number, out of a possible 2,100. And Kim, the owner of metalguitarscales.com, being very familiar with the grand majority of these scales, takes them and puts them in these books, but he does so in a way that's very intuitive, and that you don't need any kind of formal experience. Anyone can read tabs; they're very obvious. So the first page kind of shows you how this book works and everything. But let's skip to a completely random scale. Look, I'm fingering, and let's see, where are we? This is going to be called the Gadillic scale. And so what the first page has, it has all the possible combinations of the scale, starting with the root note on the open low string. So you'll have it for 6 string, standard tuning, 6 string drop tuning, and 7 string standard tuning. Unfortunately there isn't much place for 7 string drop tuning, but if you're using 7 string drop tuning, I don't really think that you're playing black metal, or you really know what black metal is, if that's the case. So it has all the kind of positions. It shows you the root note each time, and it gives you kind of, all across the neck, so you really know where to go and how to get things, done. And then obviously underneath, it'll give you a bunch of scales that you can play within. So it's going to have, tetratonic scales, which means 4-note scales, which are essentially chords. Pentatonic, hexatonic, heptatonic. This is an octatonic scale. Now, this is what's really, really interesting about this book. Is that, as most people know, most scales will have 7 notes, right? The heptatonic, before going back to the octave, which, gives you pretty interesting intervals to work with, very kind of consonant, right? But what Kim has done here, which is really interesting, he's included 8 and 9 tone scales, so octatonic and monotonic. And this allows a greater use of chromaticism, because you only have 12 notes overall. So if you're playing on 9 of these notes, there are only 3 notes that you're not using, so you're almost chromatic, but you're not starting very standard, or just kind of doing very basic chromatic runs like or war metal. But yeah. So yeah, this is really interesting for that. It gives you a lot of ideas. The second page of each scale part, it features different chords that can be played in standard tuning or drop tuning, and that will sound better with the equivalent position on the guitar. So you'll have all the chords that align with the first note, all the chords that align with the second note. You even have some power chords there. You have all kinds of very simple chords, one or two bar chords here, but that kind of escapes the point. The idea is to really find the kind of black metal oriented chords, so you're never really going more than 3 strings. But then most of these are power chords, power chord variations, some minor thirds, major thirds, which are, essentially kind of your bread and butter diatonic chords for black metal. Now, I absolutely love this book because, it's really well done. I love the quality. The way it's done lengthwise makes it much easier to navigate through instead of the standard format. The cover is solid. The paper is of high quality. It holds. You have an index for all the scales. And, from what I understood, this is going to be the first part of an entire kind of a universe with other books that are going to go towards more the harmonics idea of things. How do you add melodies on top of each other? How do you support these melodies? What you can do, this is literally, you take a scale, you figure out how to play it, you let it resonate in your head for a while, and then, it's up to you to find your own sense of melody. There's a sense of kind of discovery. It's not there to teach you how to play these songs or whatever, or write songs. It's really there to open up your style of composition. This is really this isn't going to teach you how to sweep pick across this and all that. It's just going to give you here are these options. Maybe if you kind of restrict yourself to some of these notes at times, and then maybe try adding these chords with like a second guitar or maybe a third guitar overdubbed, you can do a lot of very interesting things. Which is really what I appreciate, because a lot of these books tend to kind of give you a very pedantic form of doing things, but then Kim here chose about 34. There's about more than 35 scales overall, and a lot of styles are encompassed within this. Black metal can mean a lot of things, so you do have some very Deathspell Omega like scales, where you don't have that kind of stability that the fifth provides. So you're into very dissonant territory. There's not much balance. It kind of sounds very, not chromatic. Yeah, there is a lot of chromaticism in the more dissonant scales, but it's just very well done, and he gives some really good chords that can kind of counter that chromaticism at times. But then you can also do a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff which is essentially some of the basic melodic minor, harmonic minor stuff, but with an added note or a note, or a note transposed somewhere else. So there's a lot you can do with this book, and it's a very, very interesting one that I recommend. So ultimately, I do really enjoy this book. I think it has a lot to show. I think there are a lot of very interesting ideas that can be done. It kind of opens up the pathways. It's done in a very basic way that, allows you to really engurge all of that information very quickly, and you can do a lot of stuff but with it. And then, there's always the internet to kind of expand, but as a starting point for the more advanced guitarist who's kind of sick of staying in that kind of chromatic, harmonic minor, pentatonic box, there are a lot of options. I know this is only the beginning, and I can't wait for the new stuff that Kim is going to be doing. We're going to talk about it very soon on the Hessian Scrum episode. So stay tuned, and honestly, I full-heartedly recommend Thy Third Wave of Black Metal. So thanks guys, this has been the Hessian Horde episode 1. Hope to see you soon next time.